Hello and welcome to episode 6. I nearly forgot what episode it was then. Welcome to episode 6 of the Charlie Chats Footy podcast with me, Charlie Casson. Thank you very much for locking in. Once again, much appreciated. If you're new and you haven't heard this podcast before, welcome. Good to have you. Thank you for clicking on the link and coming to listen. What this is basically, just for all you new listeners, it's basically a little podcast combining my two loves together, acting and football. So yeah, I've been getting on a bunch of actors, bunch of creatives, and we've just been chatting all things footy. Right from the beginning, just hearing about stories and sort of steering away from the statistics side of things. It's more based on experiences and the passion for it, and yeah, hearing people's stories about their experiences within the sport and why they love the game so much and why they love their team so much. So if that sounds like a bit of you, and you fancy hearing some creatives talk about that sort of thing, get involved, subscribe, share, listen, like, do what you got to do. I just got to give a little shout out actually to my mum, Joanna Casson, Danny Bueri and Michael Flynn for their wonderful, generous donations to become the first 3 patrons of the Charlie Chats Footy podcast. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. It's going to help the podcast a lot moving forward. I know times are tough, but if you do fancy donating just the price of a pint towards the podcast to help with the running costs of the show, equipment, software, all of that sort of thing, promo and stuff. Yeah, if you're a loyal listener and you do fancy that, honestly, it would make my day. But the podcasts are free. The podcasts are free to listen to, and they always will be. Always will be. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, if you do fancy helping and being a little bit of a legend, I'd much appreciate it. Like I said at the start, this is episode 6 with actor Rebecca Hesketh-Smith. This is a class episode. I loved every second of recording this. It was amazing to hear a woman chat so passionately about football, because there's no shying away from the fact that football is a sport in a male-dominated space. That's just facts. It is. But it was so refreshing and so nice to hear a woman like Rebecca come on and chat about her stories and about her experiences and all the special moments she's witnessed along the way. It was fantastic. And we covered lots of stuff. I think you're going to enjoy this one. It was really, really interesting and insightful. And Rebecca reiterates on the fact that I've said this a few times in the podcast, but football is more than just a sport. It's more than just a game. There's so much more behind it than just on the pitch. Rebecca touches on that really well in terms of it bringing her family together and creating relationships with people in life that she would never have had the opportunity to chat with, or it would just never have come about. So I think that's really important. And hopefully we've all experienced that. If you love football, I'm sure everyone's experienced that in some way or another. We chat about her growing up in Crewe, being a massive Liverpool fan, her first game, her best game, all these special moments, and we talk about some very, very iconic AstroTurfs that I'm sure a few of you had, and I know for sure Rebecca had them. So yeah, stay tuned, have a listen to find out what we're talking about. I hope you enjoy it. Please do follow on all the socials. I've had some lovely messages this week from people who I don't know who have just been saying how much they love the podcast, and it's getting them through their shifts in the factory where they're working. So that means a lot. It's really special to know that it's now reaching out to people who are outside of my friends group. So yeah, thank you so much. Keep sharing it, keep liking and keep subscribing. I hope you enjoy this episode. It's fantastic. Stay tuned. We've got some brilliant guests coming up over the next few weeks. Really, really, really excited to share some of the guests we've got coming up. But for now, this is Rebecca's time. So this is episode 6 of the Charlie Chats Footy podcast with Rebecca Hesketh-Smith. So let's start right from the beginning, right? Let's take it way back. What was it like growing up as a kid? Was football a big part of your life?
Yeah, it was. And I think actually, in hindsight, a lot more than I realised. It was definitely something that I chose to have an interest in, I think. I don't think it was something that was inflicted upon me. But I come from a family who just love football. My mum and dad are both from Liverpool, both big Liverpool fans, and it's kind of, I mean, I think as a Scouser, it's almost part of the culture of being a Scouser. Football is such a huge, huge thing, and I think that was definitely kind of ingrained into me as well. So yeah, and then even like family gatherings, football is a topic of conversation. My poor sister, we actually have a family group chat separate to our normal one that has to be just about football, because my big sister has like zero interest, and me, my brother, my mum, my dad literally post separately because we post so much about it. So yeah, it was a huge part. And I started going to games quite young, probably about 6 or 7, and I'm from Crewe, like born and raised in Crewe. So my dad used to take me to the Crewe Alex games, and he used to commentate for local radio for Crewe Alex. So he used to take me with him as a kid, and I'd sit up like where, I mean, it wasn't glamorous at Crewe by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, so he'd sit up where like the reporters were, and I remember so well, he had this like red phone, and it was like a dial-up phone back then, and the phone would ring and he'd answer, and my dad has like a really thick Scouse accent, and he'd be like, and it's Chris from the Crewe Alexandra Stadium, it's Crewe 1, Port Vale 0, or whatever the score was. And I just remember thinking, this is so cool. And like, I was so like in the thick of it. And he used to interview the manager and the players afterwards, which was Dario Gradi, the manager at the time.
Oh, I remember Dario Gradi.
Yeah, he was there for like years. And I guess like, I think the hero of that like era was Dean Ashton, who obviously went on to have a great career. And I remember he used to let me hold the dictaphone when they were like talking. So I'd be stood next to my dad, like holding the dictaphone up to these players and just being in awe of it all. And I was like, this is cool. Like, so I think from there, from like a very early age, it was something that I just wanted to be a part of. And I think a part of the conversation, like family-wise as well, like my dad's got 3 brothers, and my uncles would just all be like, it was just a chat. So I think I was just desperate to be a part of it, and yeah, kind of went from there, I guess.
Do you have, because obviously you were introduced to it like from being there at Crewe, have you got like now a little sort of soft spot for Crewe Alex?
Oh God, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't follow them. I remember I went to a playoff final when I was a bit older, because like the lads that I went to school with were like local Crewe boys who and they had a great academy at Crewe and a lot of links to like bigger clubs. So I remember going to a playoff final at Wembley in like, I want to say like 2012. We played Colchester and won, I think. This is a long time ago. So there was always like, even though I'm definitely Liverpool, like first and foremost, and it's definitely where my alliance is, I will kind of follow, up on like how Crewe are doing, been promoted this season now that it's all done.
Yeah, they came second, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I saw that.
And then I guess like player-wise as well, like even like Ashley Westwood.
Yeah.
I'd be like, whenever they're playing now and like doing well, I'll be like, oh, Crewe boy. And just kind of like, I'm my mates with his dad. Like, I think he's did something on our house extension or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's definitely like that link with Crewe, I think, of, yeah, where it all started.
I used to love Crewe away because if I remember, it's the grounds right next to the station.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we used to go, we had a few beers in this. We came out of the station, you like walk down towards Gresty Road. And I think it's like part pub, part hotel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, on the corner, yeah.
Yeah, on the corner. We always used to go in there before the game and then just cross the road and walk down straight across the stadium.
I mean, to be honest with you, Charlie, Crewe as a town, That's about all there is to it. There's a train station which passes through everywhere, and a football stadium, and a few takeaways. And
So I've seen it all.
You've seen it all, mate. I wouldn't even bother venturing any further. Yeah, the railway men.
I was going to ask you why, you sort of touched on it already, but why Liverpool? I mean, you mentioned your parents, but was there anything that like you said, you sort of became a football fan off your own accord? Was there anyone that inspired you at the time of growing up, or you were like, oh my God, this is amazing? Do
you know what? I think it was just wanting to be a part of what like my family was about. And I just remember that we go to Liverpool like a lot, like most weekends to see family and whatever. And there's just such a buzz about it. And like, I mean, Michael Owen, Steven Gerrard in those times. And I just remember it'd be on all the time. Like, my dad had never missed a Liverpool game. And so that automatic alliance. And then I remember going to, I've been lucky enough to go to Anfield quite a bit. Me and my brother used to share a season ticket. And it was me, my brother and my dad, actually. And we used to divvy out the games because my dad couldn't make it to all of them because of work and stuff. And I used to sit next to my uncle at the games. And I remember, I don't remember my very first Liverpool game. My dad seems to think it was when I was like 9 or 10. But I remember my first Merseyside derby. And I remember it so well because Phil Neville scored an own goal. And I remember being so made up because I was like, you're a dickhead. Because the two teams he played for, I thought, you know, couldn't happen to a better person. So, and I think the first time I went to Anfield was probably the time where I was like, this isn't something that I'm going to grow out of. This is, and I mean, maybe everyone's biased with their football team, but there's something about Anfield that is, I've been to a few stadiums now, and there's just nothing like it. And the buzz and the just the fans and like that feeling. So I think, yeah, getting to go to Anfield quite a bit was a huge part in like my loyalty to football and to Liverpool. Yeah.
All it takes is one trip, isn't it? And it's in you.
Honestly, yeah. 100%. And especially because my standard was Crewe.
Bit of an upgrade from Gresty Road.
Yeah. Such an upgrade. And I knew that like Crewe wasn't my dad's team. Like, there was a connection there, but like, yeah, Liverpool was the one, man. And like, and I think I knew about the history of it. Like, my dad has told me like stories of he had a season ticket for the Cop in the 70s and the 80s, and like was at every game. And I just knew there was this huge kind of success and history. And I guess I just so wanted to be a part of it. And yeah, and I think as well, I really, really vividly remember my first European night at Anfield. And it was against Galatasaray. And I remember it was a Wednesday night because I left school early. And yeah, I just think like as well, like, an evening midweek game, floodlights on, like, and Anfield and European nights, like I knew they were special anyway, but I think actually being at one was like, whoa, like this shit is goosebumps. And it was actually the game where we won 3-2 and Peter Crouch scored that absolute worldy overhead
scissor kick. Yeah, bicycle kick. He was talking about that on his podcast the other week, that goal. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
that must have been a special night.
Yeah, and like I think it's all a bit like, I think I was so swept up, and again, like I was only like maybe like 12, 13, and it was just like, yeah, so special. I just really remember actually the Galatasaray fans being mental, and they were 3-0 down, right? And they were like up for it, like they were going mad, singing songs, chanting throughout, no matter what the score. And I just thought, this is brilliant. Like, yeah, it was really, really special, that game.
So going back to sort of around the same time, did you ever put your boots on and have a kick around?
Not to any kind of standard, Charlie. So in primary school, I always went to the after school club, which didn't have a girls team, so I just used to get stuck in. I don't think I was any good ever. I went to the Alex Soccer Centre a few times, actually. I had like a little stint of going.
What's that?
So the Alex Soccer Centre is like where I just realised that you assume.
I don't know crew that well.
Yeah. So it's where the academy are. So that's where the academy train, and they have a really good training facilities for the academy. So yeah, I went there a few times on a Saturday, but honestly, I'm talking like age 7, 8, running around, not a clue. And my brother as well, I used to have a kickabout at home. My brother's older than me, and he just used to get me to play with his mates so that they could have someone that could go in goal, and they'd just leather the ball at me, which wasn't really playing. I remember being so made up because like my big brother and all of his like cool friends wanted to play football with me, but really they just wanted someone in net to smash the ball at. And I think as well, like I enjoyed it and I enjoyed the feeling of it, but at the time I was doing gymnastics, I was doing dancing, and that was taken up like 5 nights a week. It ended up being what I went on to do further. So yeah, I guess there was just no time for it. But I do remember like kind of wanting people to think that I played. I guess it's like, I think anyone who doesn't play football like to a professional level always thinks that they could have if they stuck at it. There's a little bit of me that thinks that like that was my alternative life if I hadn't gone down like, I don't know, the dancing and performing route. But I remember for my birthday once, right, my mum asked me what I wanted, and I was just desperate for a pair of total 90s. Like,
I love that. I love that.
At the time, I was like, I'm gonna get like, I had all the football kits, and I think I thought like if I wear like total 90 Astros, people will think I'm like a football player. So I remember she took me to JJB. So embarrassing.
It's quality.
She took me to JJB and I had a pair of the silver and burgundy total 90s.
Oh, I had them as well. With the laces are like on the side, aren't they, on the total 90s a little bit?
The laces on the side, iconic shoe. So I had a pair of total 90s, and actually as well, and I remember, this is so embarrassing, I can't believe I'm sharing this on a public podcast. But year 6, right, non-uniform day, I was so proud of like what I was going to go in. I had the Liverpool training kit. It was like this grey Reebok trackie.
Yeah.
And so I had the grey tracky bottoms on, and then I had this fleece, right, that had Carlsberg on the back. This grey fleece. I mean, it's gross. I don't know why I thought it was so good, but I just thought it was the best thing ever. And so I go in year 6 non-uniform day in my trackie and my fleece and my total 90. And my total 90s must have looked like a football manager in a 10-year-old girl's body, and I got leathered. I got leathered for it in school.
That is quality. I love that you wore the total 90s with it as well. You had to be fair, that's better than wearing total 90s with like jeans or something.
Yeah. But
jeans and Astros aren't really a look, are they?
No. Still quite tragic though, either way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a throwback, the burgundy total 90s. God, I actually forgot I had them until you mentioned that.
So everyone had them. Everyone had them.
I'm just picturing you now in year 6, like walking into assembly in a Carlsberg fleece with total 90s on.
It's horrendous. And I think actually that at school though, like it was all like everyone was like, you know, would call me names and whatever, which I'm not going to repeat on this podcast. But I do remember it like one point, maybe more during high school, where I kind of stopped following football a bit, just because of the whole like girls like in football kind of thing wasn't that cool. And like I remember I just kind of fell under the peer pressure of like these gender norms that we fit into, and I was like, oh, I now need to be like, I don't know, like be accepted and like be a bit more femme and girly and stuff. So there's definitely a period in high school where I didn't follow football as much, but I'm really glad that I came out the other side, back to my authentic self. Yeah, bloody hell, gosh.
What's the best game you've ever been to?
100%, hands down, the FA Cup final against West Ham.
Cardiff.
In Cardiff, yes. Great.
Tell us about that day.
So, I really remember, bless him, my dad, and this is coming off the back of the Istanbul win. And I think from that, my dad said to me, if we're ever in a cup final again, we're going. I think he thought, like, we're not going to miss out on any kind of other iconic nights. And bless him, he stuck to his word, but he could only get tickets in the West Ham end. So, yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, didn't make a difference in the end. So, yeah, I remember travelling down that day, so excited. I'd never been to a cup final before. And immediately the atmosphere in Cardiff was like, and it was kind of, it wasn't the best Liverpool team in the world by any stretch, but again, we're under Benitez and we're coming off that Champions League final win, and there's almost like this bit of hope and like, yeah. And I remember on the way in, so my dad's like quite a subtle guy, doesn't wear like football shirts, he's like jeans and a jacket, like probably going a bit low key because we're in the West Ham end.
Yeah.
I had a flag.
Not the tracksuit.
Not the tracksuit. The tracksuit's gone. It got burned after non-uniform day. Not the tracksuit. So I had a Liverpool flag around me, and I remember, this is so funny, I feel like I'm sharing my most embarrassing football stories. So do you know those markets that sell like the t-shirts and that?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I didn't get a half and half scarf. I would never do that to myself. But sorry for anyone who owns a half and half scarf. I just never really understood them.
No, it's not. You're either one or the other, aren't you? Really?
I mean, like I bought a t-shirt, a red t-shirt that said the Raffolution. And oh god, yeah, I don't know what. But my dad must have bought it for me on reflection. Anyway,
so you're in the West Ham end in this t-shirt then?
I'm in the West Ham end. I've got a flag round me, a t-shirt, and to top it off, I got liver birds painted on each cheek. But I think my dad's logic behind it was, no one's going to beat up a 12-year-old girl. Yeah. So I remember going in, whatever. And then actually, as the game started, we kind of realised that there was a few Liverpool fans in there anyway. I think with it being a neutral ground and it's an FA Cup final, it's like a Saturday afternoon, there's kids and families there. So it wasn't too intense. But oh my God, like from the get-go, well, I mean, Carragher's own goal.
I've just thought of something that's quite iconic about this whole story.
What?
Going back to the start of what we spoke about, doesn't Dean Ashton score the second goal?
He does.
He did, didn't he?
He does.
That's mental that you and your dad were there and your dad used to interview him.
Charlie, I've never made that connection. God, what a full circle moment.
What a full circle moment.
That's
in the
amazing.
West Ham end as well.
In the West Ham end. I'm going to ring him and tell him that. Yeah, he does. Dean Ashton had an amazing game, actually. Yeah.
Was it Dudek in goal?
It was Pepe Reina.
Reina, like, I feel like he fumbled it or something for that Ashton goal.
He did. He made a right pig's ear of it. Made up for it, though, later on in the penalties. Yeah. But yeah.
2-0 down. What's going on there?
We're 2-0 down. I'm thinking, this is the worst day of my life. However, it's still the first half, and you're thinking, this is Liverpool. There's some kind of, there's this like belief of a miracle cup final constantly, I think, after Istanbul. And then Djibril Cissé scores just before half time. right in front of us, actually, because we were near the corner flag. And you're thinking, yes, okay, cool. I remember all my uncles were in the Liverpool end and we rang them at half time and whatever. And then second half, Gerrard equalises. Amazing. Absolute belter. That was 2-2.
And then Konchesky scores the cross.
The cross, by the way, no way was that a shot. What a fluke of a goal. I mean, amazing.
So that was the end you were at as well, was it?
That was the end I was at. Yeah. So I'm at the end where the Konchesky goal goes in. I'm thinking, oh my God. And I remember it was like the 80-odd minute late on. I remember crying, right? The live birds have gone by this point. And I just remember like 89th, 90th minute, I'm surrounded by fucking bubbles in this West Ham end and just thinking, gutted, heartbroken. And within seconds, Gerrard scores that 30-yard screamer. Ridiculous. To this day, I'm thinking 5 minutes before he's down with cramp, like can't even walk, is like on the side getting his legs stretched out, and how he musters up the strength to...
He says in an interview, I've read an interview of him where he says if that was in the first half, he'd taken a touch and played it out wide or something because he had nothing left. He just said, all I can do is lever it. I mean, what a goal that was.
What a goal, and what an absolute hero. And then I just remember me dad. I mean, the subtlety of goal celebrations in the West Ham end had gone out the window by that point.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What was it like, even with the equaliser? Like, how did you and your dad sort of keep it?
I think there were, like, we kind of discovered that there was a few Liverpool fans dotted around. And so I can't remember. I think I was like, yes. I think it was kind of probably a bit more low key than another game. But I have to give it to the West Ham fans, actually. During that game, they were very respectful. And again, I don't know whether that was because I was a kid, maybe. I don't think I'd get away with that now. But yeah, that Gerrard goal was, I remember my dad like throwing me in the air, and it was just, what a roller coaster of emotions of a game. Like, oh God, I don't even think I could take anymore at this point. And then obviously half time, extra time even. And it was in terms of like domination of a game, it was so back and forth. It was like no one kind of knew what was going to happen. And then obviously it goes to penalties, and the penalties are taken, again, we're near a corner flag and they were right in front of us. And I just remember Rayner saving that last pen and celebrating like down near us. And it was just like, mate, the emotion of that game. And then we watched the trophy lift and then stayed behind afterwards for quite a while. And actually, I think a few West Ham fans did. I don't know whether it was like for I guess for like what an incredible game, what an incredible shift their team put in. But one thing I do really remember leaving the ground, the West Ham fans stood in a line and clapped the Liverpool fans walking through. And I remember being like, there was such a like nice level of sportsmanship, I guess, of like, this was a like insane game that we've both kind of like just witnessed. Best game I've ever been to, yeah, hands down.
They had a bit of everything, to be fair, and especially like your first cup final, in Cardiff. What a city to do it in as well. Cardiff. I mean, if you're a bit older, it's obviously what you were 13. Yeah. Cardiff now. It's just. I still think to this day that FA Cup finals should still be in Cardiff, because Wembley's just in the middle of nowhere, and like. Yeah. Cardiff, you've got the train station, all the bars, all the restaurants, all the hotels, and the stadium all within like a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, and there's such a buzz. Like, I remember like just getting off the train and like everything's kind of like, there was just such a buzz about it. And you're right, travelling to Wembley is such a ball ache with the tubes and whatever.
There's nothing around it either. There's nothing around it. You got to have go to the pub in Covent Garden or Baker Street or something and get a train. It's just so inconvenient.
And spend £9 on a pint.
Innit?
Yeah.
So true. Let's talk about more recent times. Let's be honest. I don't want to tempt fate, but I've got to be honest. It's looking like the first Premier League title is on the horizon. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's been confirmed now. We're getting going again in a couple of weeks. And I think, yeah, exactly. And I think you can do it in the next 2 games. Is that right?
Can do it in the next 2 games. And if Arsenal beat City, I think we can win it on the Merseyside derby.
Would you rather, because I know you got City a couple of weeks after that, would you rather win it at Everton or at the Etihad? Or is it the Etihad or Anfield?
I don't know if we've got them away or home, actually.
Will you rather win in Merseyside or win against City to win the league? Or would you rather?
Do you know what? I don't hate Everton. I don't. And I think, to me, Everton are still Scousers. Whereas Man United was, I hate Man United more than I do City, even to this day. So actually, I feel a bit sorry for Everton, if I'm honest. Both would be great, but I reckon I'd rather win at City and just be middle finger up kind of thing. But I kind of don't want to delay it any further, and the sooner the better for me. So yeah, either or.
It's so disappointing because obviously football isn't the same without the fans, and it's us fans that make it. So to have such an amazing season, to win your first ever Premier League behind closed doors, and not even be able to have everyone in the stadium and the tour bus around the city and all that, it's bittersweet, isn't it? It's
so bittersweet, and even. I mean, it's just I feel like it's such a Liverpool way of winning. It's we're 25 points clear at the top of the league is insane. If someone said that to me, and it's funny because going from last season of having a record number of points and still coming second, it's kind of and I guess, I don't know, I think as a fan of someone of my generation, it has been, I have had to kind of make a bit of a shift in my head of how good we are now. I've always there's always been something that's kind of, I don't know, maybe gone wrong, or there's always been a doubt about something, or it's taken a miracle cup final for us to win, or there's always been is this player good enough? Do we have enough depth in the squad? Even under Benitez, it's are we playing too conservative, too safe football? And there's been such a shift with Klopp and this trust and the decisions that he makes, and you trust that he makes right decisions, and when he makes poor decisions, he admits it. I think he keeps this cap on expectation almost, which I think is where Liverpool have gone wrong in the past. We have such a huge history, and I think it's been really important for that to go game by game, we win the next. And this season has just been a joy to watch, and to feel safe about it as well. There's such we are just playing brilliant football. We've got a brilliant squad of players. The management, it just all seems to have fit into place. And to be honest, it was too plain sailing. And of course, a global pandemic had to happen, which is, I think it has tainted it slightly. It has. And I sulked for a while. Obviously, it's out of everyone's hands. But now that I know that the season will be back up and running, I can't wait. I can't tell you how badly I need to see Jordan Henderson lift the Barclays. It's
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to see it.
It is. It's so funny because for so long this season, even though we kind of knew, I just couldn't say it to myself because of previous heartbreak of being so close. So I think it was the Boxing Day game this season against Leicester, and we were if we can win that, of a Leicester team that are performing and not even winning it, battering them 4-0.
That was the Trent masterclass, wasn't it?
Trent Alexander-Arnold. That game was what was it? 2 assists and a goal.
I think it was 4-0 it ended, didn't it?
Yeah, 4-0. And I mean, and seeing just a local Scouse lad perform to that standard. I think
he is unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh my God, mate. He's like, what a godsend as well. Even in terms of like, how old's Trent now? 21?
I think he's 21, yeah.
22? 21, 22?
What is it though? What is it that's made Liverpool so... I know last year you had a good year, you missed out on the last day, but what is it that has changed? Like you said, there was always used to be something where you had some sort of self-doubt, or this player's not good enough, or like you said, in the cup final, you managed to win it, but the squad wasn't actually that good. What has changed in recent years that has made Liverpool now, over the last 2 years, like dominate in the Premier League?
I think it's the momentum under Klopp. Like he's I think it's been building now for the past like 4 or 5 years under him, and like I just think there's a winning mentality that I think is just, I don't know, like he just seems to have installed this like confidence. And to be honest, his investment in players, like getting Van Dijk in was a game changer. Like having Van Dijk in as a centre back in that team, like those and even Alisson, like those kind of investments, I think has just created this solid kind of, obviously the skill level's great, but there's just something in that team that is, it's just a joy to see them all play, and they all seem to love each other, and they're all best mates, and there's no dickheads in the squad. Like you usually get one or two, don't you? I mean, we had Suarez for years who kind of ruin it for everyone else, but there's just such a tightness and a good attitude.
From an outsider, there's always a team, no matter how good they are, even in those United teams that won the league year after year under Fergie, you look in the team and there's always one who is a little bit of a weak link. You're like, but I feel like there's just not a weak link in this Liverpool team. Everywhere is just so strong.
I agree. And also, like, you know, we haven't, like, it's not like we've had a season without injuries either. Like, you know, Alisson went out on like early on in the season. And so I think it's having that depth, options, and there's like a creativity in the team, you know. It's like, okay, cool. You know what? We don't have Salah and Firmino against Barcelona. Cool. We'll just whip Origi on. Gini Wijnaldum, you know, it's these kind of like, we have options. We don't just have one style of playing. It's like the footballers can adapt and shift, and they just all seem to love it as well. Like there's this enjoyment, there's this joy, like Robbo and Trent having this competition of who's going to get the most assists, and like they're competing against each other, and I think there's a healthy competition in the squad. Like you even saw it when Mane gets substituted and he's fuming, and it's like it's because he's like, I can score and I can do this. And I think not having players, which I guess every team has occasionally, of sitting back, happy to sit on the bench, happy to kind of like coast by. Yeah, I think it's made a huge difference.
I was listening to, if you haven't heard it, in the week, have a listen to it. Andy Robertson goes on the Peter Crouch podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying about Klopp and how you'll see it now when he like approaches players after games. You see him on the pitch, like after you've won and stuff. How he interacts with each player is different, and it's like he knows them so well. He's got his own like little personal connections with them, where he wouldn't just run up to Henderson and give him a massive hug and do the exact same hug to Robertson and the same thing to Trent. He's got his little things with each of them. And I think, I don't know, imagine being that player, like the players in that team, knowing you've got that connection with this guy who I want to go for a beer with Klopp.
Hey, I am desperate to be mates with Klopp. Like, I wish Klopp was my uncle. He's just, it's so true. Like, I think like that player-manager relationship, and I always remember actually Gerrard talking about that in his documentary, and he found that quite hard with Benitez, like, and Benitez is quite cold with the players, and I actually think that's what tempted Gerrard so much with Chelsea was Mourinho and that connection, that kind of like hands-onness that he has. almost like a father figure to the players. And I think any ex-Liverpool player right now will be looking at this team very envious that they don't get to play under Klopp.
Gerrard sort of just missed it, didn't he? He just missed it.
Yeah, I mean, and to, I guess, miss out on a Premier League as well for him will always be a regret. But he's a hero. He's a hero either way. Yeah, what he's done for that club is incredible.
Yeah, he's a legend, to say the least. So putting sort of on the pitch aside, what is football to you aside from the game itself?
I talk about this a lot, like with my friends who maybe aren't into football and are like, what, like, I don't know, you're crazy kind of thing. That passion for it. And it's, for me, football, it's way more than just a game. Like, the community that football creates for people and places that may not have a solid community around them. And I think, I mean, just speaking from what I know, like, Liverpool as a city is like, it's football is embedded into that city. And my dad, like, I just hearing stuff from my dad, and like during that time, like especially under Thatcher's Britain, of like Liverpool in the 70s, 80s was in turmoil, and like, you know, unemployment levels, and it probably wasn't a very nice place to be and live. And having a football team, and not just Liverpool, Everton, who was so dominant at that time as well, like knowing that every week your football team was going to play and probably win, or even if you didn't, there was hope. And I think football is hope. Like, it provides this, you know, and even in this industry, like, it's hot, like, it's a bit shit sometimes, our industry, and it can be hard and draining. And I remember like training, and I had a conversation with my friend Eddie, who's a big Spurs fan, and it was only two of us in our kind of year training that were big football fans, and we'd had like a really stressful rehearsal and whatever, and we were like, I'm so glad I can walk away from this rehearsal, going into the weekend knowing that I've got like however many games of football to look forward to. And it's like, it's this escapism, right? And like, I don't know, maybe it sounds a bit sad to people who don't really care about it, but like having that thing to look forward to, I think is so important for everyone, no matter what it is. But I think football definitely provides that. And I'm so grateful for my love of football, as I guess like connections that I've made with people that I wouldn't ever make. Like, me and you wouldn't be chatting now unless like there was any kind of like football bond. And I think that's definitely been a thing for me, especially as a woman, I guess, you know, connections that I've made with people that I would never have made with, you know, as soon as you've got football in common with someone, any kind of cuts through any kind of like age, gender, that bond is amazing. And that goes for like, I don't know, taxi drivers when the football's been on in the car and I'm like, oh, what's the score? And then it riffs off. Or like, I don't know, my friends' dads who are like a bit awkward, and I can go, oh, and then it's like just completely breaks the tension with people. Yeah, it's I love it. It's what, I mean, I only see my family, extended family, at Christmas. And apart from Christmas, it takes a cup final for us to get together.
So it brings your family together.
It's a family together. I remember both my uncles couldn't get tickets to the Kiev final, Champions League final, I mean, thank God, in hindsight, because they'd usually go, but we had like a big part. My dad held a Champions League final party, and everyone was round ours, which actually ended up being quite a depressing party. But yeah, it completely brings my family together. And you know, same for the Madrid final, like me and my brother, I'll go back up home. My brother lives in Scotland. He comes down. We were in Liverpool the whole day, in like the centre of Liverpool, part of it all. And it was genuinely like one of the best days I've ever had. And like my dad was involved in that. And we were drinking and singing songs. And this is even before we won. This was 2:00 in the afternoon before the game. And so, and I don't know, like the relationships that I have with like my dad and my uncles. I don't know how else that bond would have manifested itself if it wasn't for football, I guess.
That's amazing. It just proves like it's more than just a game. I've said it on nearly every episode. Something comes up which reiterates the fact that there's more to it than just kicking a ball around on a pitch, for sure.
100%.
Just to wrap up, I've been asking everyone this towards the end of the podcast. Any footballer, past or present, you could play them in a film about their life on the big screen for the world to see. Who are you going to play and why?
So I've thought about this, and I was really trying to think of someone whose story would like personally inspires me, and like I think the world should hear. And I'm going to go with a woman, because I actually think women's football is a platform that needs to be seen and heard more.
100%.
And Marta Vieira da Silva, the Brazilian women's captain. And I remember hearing her speak at the 2019 Women's World Cup in an interview afterwards. And she, like this passion that she had, and she spoke directly down the camera lens and pleaded to young girls. She said kind of like, I'm not going to be around forever, and these other iconic women aren't going to be around together, and the future of kind of our football is on you, and you need to make sure you can play for 90 minutes plus 30 minutes plus 30 minutes. And hearing her speak so passionately, and I kind of then was like looking at like what is her story, and it's amazing. Like from Brazil, like she used to play in like boys teams because women's football was banned at the time she was kicking a football around, and she got banned from boys football teams because she was too good. So the coaches tried to stop her playing. She has fought against kind of every kind of prejudice that she's faced, and has got to the level that she has. And she's actually, right, good little fact for you, she's the top goal scorer in the World Cup across both genders. And when you Google World Cup top goal scorers, she doesn't come up because it's just the men's stats that come up. And I just think these kind of things that sometimes eradicate people's stories, I think her story, the second I looked into it, I was like, what? Like, why didn't I know about this woman? Like, she's so cool. And she also wears a red lip when she plays. And I just think that's fabulous.
I remember from the World Cup last year, she absolutely killed it. Yeah, I remember.
She's insane. Honestly, look at Marta. Look at her best bits on YouTube. And it is like, she wipes the floor with people. So yeah, her.
There we go. Any producers listening? We got what's your Brazilian accent like?
Needs a bit of work, Charlie. Yeah. But write that script and make that film, because I will be there.
Rebecca, it was wonderful to chat some football with you. Did you enjoy that?
Thank you. Honestly, thank you for having me. I've been like, just nice to talk football. It's so good.
Thank you so much again for coming on, and I'll chat to you in the week.
Yeah, fab. Thanks for having me, mate. See you later.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you know exactly how much you're going to get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co. podgo.co.